All right, with everything pinned together and our notches matched up, our center front and center back matched up, we're ready to sew our hood. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew it. I'm gonna probably I'll start at center back. So I'm gonna find this seam right here with the back of my hood, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm looking at the inside of my hoodie. So my hood itself is on the inside of the hoodie, but this is like the wrong side of the fabric of my hoodie. That's what I'm looking at. I'm going to pull my threads back, line everything up with the edge of my presser foot for 1/4 inch seam allowance, pull this pin out of the way so I'm ready to go, and then I'll start sewing. So I'll go forward 3, backward 3, and then I'll just keep sewing. I want to make sure my raw edges are always lined up with the edge of my presser foot as I sew. As I sew, I'm going to pull some pins out. So see this pin right here? I'm going to sew, and I'll pull it out before I get there. Sometimes I think it is easier to pull a pin out if the needle is in the down position. So I'm going to show you something. If you press this button right here, it makes it so that whenever I let off the presser foot, my needle is always in the down position. Always. So if I sew forward, it's going to be in the down position. So this way, if I sew and I get to a pin, I can pull it out easier because it's holding my fabric in place and it's not adjusting things as I pull out the pin. So that's something I think is easier. If you don't like that, you don't have to sew that way. That's fine, but it's something that helps me. And then when you get to the end of the seam, you just have to press this button again and touch the presser or the foot pedal. And then it will go back to normal where, like if I press this right here and I just touch my foot pedal, now my needle ends in the up position. But if I press it now and I hit my foot pedal, ends in the down position. So that's how I like it when I have a lot of pins. It helps me just to know that, like, if I have to lift up my presser foot to go find a pin, my fabric's not going to move anywhere. It's still going to be in that same position, and I'm not going to mess up my seam. I'm going to continue sewing, and I'm going to make sure everything's lining up with the edge of my presser foot here, so I have 1/4 inch seam allowance. I also want to make sure that this seam allowance right here is going the right direction. So I've pinned it down, but if you look over here where the seam is, when I sewed it on this other seam, the armpit seam, it's going down, so I want it to keep going the same direction all the way. So double checking that my seam allowance is going the right way, and I just keep sewing, stopping before pins. I'm going to hit my button right here to make sure that everything stops in the down position the way I like it. As I'm sewing, I'm just rotating my fabric around this arm of the machine. So I'll just keep rotating it, and then when it's getting a little bit tight up here, I'm just going to pull more from the back. Right now I'm approaching the front of the hood. So I want to make sure that everything is coming in nicely, and I got to be prepared because it's really thick. So I'm going to just be prepared to help my fabric if I need it. Right now it seems to be doing okay. But if it gets stuck, I can give it a gentle push if I need it. I'm just going to sew over the front. It's pretty seamless for me. If you do have a little bit of trouble there, then you can just give it a gentle nudge. You don't need to really yank or anything, but a gentle little tug from the back can help. So to finish things off, I'm going to keep my threads out of the way, and I'm just going to sew right over the same seam I was on before and back stitch once I'm on top of the seam that I've already sewn. And then since I press this button right here, I'm just going to press it. It'll let my presser foot end up, or my needle end up in the up position when I hit my foot pedal, and then I can just trim all these threads together because they're all together right there. And I have my hood sewn onto my hoodie.